'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, and hope said St. Nicholas soon would be there. Children all nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their head. Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap, when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter. I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and I threw up the sash. When what to my wondering eye should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with little old drivers so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. All right, there you go. That's a nice intro, I think. A nice intro to that. Yeah, I need a cocktail. So let me look at my cocktail. I totally was unplanned for this thing. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. That is a pro fucking move right there. I have not done this for a long time, so obviously I'm out of practice. But check out this little guy. Cheers! Look, there's that motherfucker. Santa Claus. Yeah, cheers, buddies, friends, countrymen, women. That's good. So that is a rum espresso martini that I made. Look, a little Baphomet. Where is he? Whoop. There he is. A little Baphomet by the TV. Christmas tree's on. We're getting in the holiday mode. No, it has been a minute since I've done this. I could start over, but I'm not going to. It's still light out, which is interesting to know. But we are having a cocktail and talking about the goddamn Christmas Carol. I really like this angle. There we go. There's a tree. Get the tree in there. It's a little more fun, more festive. So yeah, hope everybody's doing well. I know it's been a while since we did this, mostly because of all the rule changes on Instagram, and they've still got me in Instagram jail on one account, and then on the happy hour account, I have to have like 1,000 followers or something like that to be able to go live. So we're just doing this. This is on the YouTube, and I'll put a link in my bio to it, and I'll post about it on all the pages and stuff like that. But cheers, y'all. Happy holidays. Christmas is a week away. Christmas Eve is a week away. Right in the thick of Hanukkah right now, if you're into that thing. I'm not sure what else is going on, if there's another holiday coming up. I know Kwanzaa's coming up the 26th. And then we'll be in of December, and then we'll be in the next year. fucking year this has been. Oh my God. I don't really talk politics on this, so I'm not really gonna say anything, but you know, y'all know how fucked up things are. But anyway, oh, check out my thing, my pyramid. It's spinning. Look at that, Graceland over there. Yeah, by the wiretap, Alexa. Yeah, got everything going on for the holidays.
I'm not sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, you whore, shut up. There we go. Always having fun with it. So Christmas Carol, yeah, it kind of, you know, what year was that written in? I should know this by now. I do this a couple times every year, and I can't remember a couple times every year. A couple times. It works. I've done this a couple times. I should know when that book is written. So it's one of my favorite books. Charles Dickens, of course, wrote it in the 1840s. And it's shocking how true and prophetic it actually is in modern day. At least America. I can't speak for other countries. I don't live in other countries. I probably would like to, but and I know you know the story. It's fun to talk about it though. You know, Marley was dead to begin with. That's a heck of an opening line for any book. Um, and the funny thing is, if you read the first page or two, Charles Dickens really wants to drive that point home. Like, you got to know that Marley was dead to begin with. He was dead. He's been dead for 7 fucking years, according to the book. So it's the 7th anniversary of his death, and Marley, of course, died on Christmas Eve. How prophetic. Um, but the thing about that is, you know, because Marley comes back, you know, he comes back to haunt us, you know, and as you know, you've probably seen those memes on the social medias about now's as good a time as any to remind ourselves that we need to haunt, you know, millionaires, or is the ice machine going? Millionaires or bazillionaires, about, you know, haunting them to remind them to be nicer people. It ain't gonna happen. The motherfuckers, you know, they're not gonna change. But, you know, we can change. We can change what we do. We can change how we act and behave towards each other, especially this time of year. Any time of year, really. You know, I made a joke. The last 2 middle school concerts, last night was the last one, thank God. And Good King Wenceslas seems to be a very common tune, at least in the literature, for middle school band and some easily percussion ensemble stuff. And so Good King Wenceslas has been played a lot this year. And I made a joke on the microphone, because you never give a drummer a microphone. And I said, you know, it's important to remember the less fortunate this time of year, especially this time of year. And in saying that, I gave them my Venmo address. I thought that was very funny. And they laughed, so that was fun. But, you know, old Scrooge, he ain't got the memo on the Venmo, you know what I'm talking about. The nice thing about, you know, this story is that we get introduced to a lot of people that could actually just be real fucking people. You know, like his nephew Fred, who is a sister, Fran or Fan, depending on which book you read. Of course, Fanny in England means something else. It doesn't mean your bottom. It means the lady's front part down there. But I digress. Maybe that wasn't what Charles Dickens was thinking about, I don't think. But anyway, so Fran or Fan was, you know, Scrooge. Oh, okay. There's low power mode. We'll make it work. We got time. I won't talk all day, like usual. You know, that was a sister, and Scrooge loved his sister very much. And then when she had the son, I think he felt resentment towards the son, Fred, because she died in childbirth. And maybe that's why, you know, their relationship is not that great. Of course, Fred's all about, yay, I love love and people and Christmas and blah, 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 blah. And Scrooge is like, fuck all that. You know, of course, he's fucking Scrooge. So, you know, but, you know, of course, at the end they make up, and you know, Scrooge realizes how much time he's wasted in his life, and he's at the end of his life anyway. So, you know, don't waste time. And I think that too is another great lesson we can learn from A Christmas Carol. Is this is it. This is all we got. This is what we have. This is what we're working with. So we should try to make the best of it. You know, the best that we can. You know, the one thing, well, not the one thing. I hate a lot of things. I love a lot of things, and I love a lot of people, and I love friends and family and all that stuff. And obviously I love Christmas and Halloween and all that shit. Drums, of course, music's okay. But oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. It works. It'll come back to me. I'll have to think about what the fuck I was talking about. See, this is why I need to be back on live, because y'all would say, "Oh, you were talking about blah blah blah," and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, fuck, I remember now." Okay, yeah. Anyway, I can't remember what the point is anyway. Oh, we don't have a lot of time. Yeah, we don't have a lot of time, so we got to make the best of it. But one thing that I really hate, and I drive by it almost every single day, it's the sign above the bridge, the railroad bridge that goes across 45 and right by I-10 here in Houston. Be someone. We can't all do that. We can't all do it. We can't all be someone. You know, the signs that say, you know, you are blah blah blah. Not everybody can do that. They can't. They just can't, because of their circumstances or the places where they put themselves. I mean, maybe they could, but let's be realistic. I mean, it's fucking 2025. Let's be realistic. We all can't be or do or whatever wherever we're supposed to do with all your fucking signs and your graffiti and shit like that. I can do what I can. I can do what I can, and I'll do what I can, and you can do what you can, but it's not gonna work for everybody. Okay, you know, and I guess this is the same. The point of me even doing this is fucking bullshit because it's social media, and who cares? Who gives a fuck? If I didn't have 3 or 4 bands that I had to promote on social media, I probably wouldn't even be on it because fuck it. But Scrooge didn't have social media back then. If he did, he'd be getting railed on by everybody, and they'd probably be picketing his storefront or whatever the fuck business he had. Money laundering or money lending. I don't know. I guess he owned properties and he traded in commodities and he had his fingers on a lot of pies. So be careful with that. Yeah, if Scrooge was around today, he'd be getting the shit kicked out of him on the social media. But alas, all they had back then was shoddy newspaper printing. But anyway, you know the story. You know Marley's dead. It's Christmas Eve in the counting house, and Bob Cratchit desperately wants to get home to Mrs. Cratchit, who I don't even remember what her name is. Oh well, Mrs. Cratchit and all the Cratchits, all of them. There's a bunch of them. Of course, Tiny Tim, little guy with the cane, little kid with the cane. Yeah, and so I've watched a bunch of different versions of A Christmas Carol over the years. I think, I think one of the best ones, well, I'll tell you what the best one. The best one is the Muppet Christmas Carol. That's the best fucking one ever. Best thing. And if you can find the version where they keep in the love song in the middle, not in the middle, but when he's breaking up with his girlfriend, when he's out of school, he's starting his business, and he breaks up with his whatever she was. That's a cool song. It's a good song written by Paul Williams, of course, because Paul Williams wrote all the Muppet stuff. Because the scene, it cuts, I probably said this last year too, like the two of them are talking in the park in the snow, and Rizzo and the Great Gonzo playing Charles Dickens are there, and they talk, and then they cut right to Rizzo and bawling his eyes out. And you're like, well, that was sad that they broke up, but it wasn't, a rat crying his eyes out sad. But if you hear the song, you will cry your eyes out. Because the song is like, ooh, it's really definitely a knife to the heart kind of a thing. And the gal sings it, and it's just great. And then that's why they're crying at the end. Can you hear that song? You'll be crying too. And fucking Michael Caine is bawling his eyes out too. Ooh, I'm going to start crying. I was just thinking about it. But that's the best one. The second best one is probably the George C. Scott version from '84, I think. That's a great one too. The Patrick Stewart one is really good too. It's a more modern one, but the way he laughs at the end when he tells Bob, and you're late to work, and I'm going to raise your salary. And when he laughs, the look on his face is like, I don't know how to laugh. And I know that Scrooge didn't know how to laugh, but Patrick Stewart, the actor, I'm just like, this is the best we can do. He's like, ha ha, and that doesn't look happy, right? It looks like you're surprised or I don't fucking know. Anyway, that one's, but it's a good one. All around, it's a good one. The animated one with Jim Carrey is good, but it's just like we couldn't get a British guy to do voices. He's not like he's required to do any facial stuff because it's a fucking cartoon. So we couldn't get like somebody funny who's British to be a British fucking character. No, we had to get Jim Carrey. It's okay. The old one with Alistair Sim is inaccurate. Like, it doesn't really follow the actual story. Like the whole scene about Bob Cratchit getting fired on Christmas Eve because he threw a snowball at Scrooge is just like kind of silly. They tie it in at the end because Scrooge shows up at the house and says, oh, I'm going to raise your salary and help your family and do all this shit. Buy your house or whatever he fucking says. But it doesn't have quite the impact as when Bob, shows up on the day after, on Boxing Day, essentially, late because he'd been partying the day before with his family, and Scrooge being pissed pissed about it, that has way more impact than, hey, I'm at your house and guess what? You're not fired. And his wife's like, wait, you were fired? And it's a long story. Don't worry about it, babe. You know, that's dumb. There's actually a musical one called, it's just called Scrooge. I remember seeing it as a kid, and I remember the ending terrified me. And I tried to start watching it the other day, and I just, it was okay. But you know, honestly, just do yourself. And the Mickey with Scrooge McDuck, no, I'm not even gonna waste my time with that. There is one that FX put out. Who owns FX? Fucking Fox, of course. And Guy Pearce plays Scrooge. It is the darkest, most uninspired, most just bullshit version of A Christmas Carol. It's dark. There's no joy at all, even in the ending. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's just this weird, dark, foreboding, like, thing. And there's like this whole subtext about like, is her name Mary Cratchit? Maybe it's Mary? I don't fuck. We'll call her Mary. Who knows? Somebody look it up for me. Excuse me. There's some weird subtext that Mary Cratchit was going to go borrow money to help pay for something because Bob wouldn't ask Scrooge for it or whatever. And so she went to Scrooge directly and wanted to borrow like 500 pounds or 100. I don't fucking know how much it was back. A lot of money anyway. And there was some like weird, like, okay, you can, but you got to fuck me thing. You know, that Scrooge was like, I'll give you the money, but you got to have sex with me. And that ain't, nah. No, no, that's fucking bullshit. I'm not standing for that. I watched it. I watched the whole thing so I can give you the commentary. If you want to watch it and waste 2 hours of your fucking life, go for it. You're going to feel like you need a shower after it because there's nothing redeeming about that version of it. And why? Because of fucking Fox. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. I know I'm not talking politics, but it's all fucked up. Anyway, Christmas Carol. Yeah, no, the Muppets one. The Muppets one is like, it's like brilliant and it's hilarious. And Michael Caine, as you've probably seen the memes, plays it like it's the Royal Shakespearean Theater or whatever. And the Muppets are fucking hilarious. And cheeses for us Mises, come on. Dickens couldn't write that. If you gave him 100 years, you couldn't write no cheeses for us Mises. Come on. It's too good. And the Paul Williams songs are great. They're fantastic. And all the Muppets are. Sam the Eagle showing up at the school is kind of silly, but other than that, it's great. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Anyway, Christmas Eve, Bob goes home, has Christmas with the family. Scrooge, of course, goes to his house. The door knocker face, which is usually a lion, turns into Marley's face. He's like, what the fuck? He goes in his house, searches the house, whatever. And then Marley, of course, shows up as a ghost. And the great thing about the Muppet, which one is, I always say this probably every year too, is like, it's Jacob Marley is the character's name, but they used Waldorf and Statler, the two grumpy old guys from the Muppets. So they had to have another Marley. So who did they pick? Robert Marley. It's good. It's good, right? Bob Marley. Come on. That's awesome. And he says, they're getting haunted by three ghosts. Of course, ghosts of past, present, and future. And they'll have their own little whimsies about them. Like the ghost of Christmas past is usually a female. Sometimes it's a small child female. Very dainty. Sometimes she wears a pointy cap, which comes in handy later because after Scrooge goes back and sees everything that he fucked up on when he was, as a kid up to his 20s. In the book, he uses the cone cap, to kind of put over her head and extinguish her light. And then he goes back to sleep. And then, of course, the Ghost of Christmas Present shows up. And the Ghost of Christmas Present, fucking shit everywhere, like hams and suckling pigs and apples and fruit and food and bounty and light and all this shit. Big robe, usually a green robe, usually a big guy with a crown of holly around his head and a torch. The torch actually helps people, like it helps, like the fuels in the torch spreads Christmas cheer and makes people's, I don't know, fucking food taste better or something like that. I don't know. But because his Christmas present, he only lasts for as long as the day, so it's 24 hours, and then he's out, he's dead. That's why he says, "Have you met the 1800 brothers before me?" He's like, "No, because there's been a Christmas ever since that guy that was never born was born." But that's a whole other podcast or whatever this fucking thing is. And then, of course, the Ghost of Christmas Future is always scary because it's like a Grim Reaper type character because no one knows what the future is going to hold. So we got to have this scary ass motherfucker show up, and basically he's the one that scares the bejesus out of Scrooge, because the other two are like, well, here's your past, here's all the fun stuff that's happening around you that you're basically ignoring because you're a piece of shit, and then here's what could happen. Well, I mean, we're all going to die, but he's basically like, he gets to the stone and he rubs off the snow on the stone, and of course it's his fucking name. I mean, we all know it's him, and they're like, he goes back to his own fucking house, and there's a dead body on the bed. Who do you think it is? Who lives in your house, jackass? You do. He's like, I don't know who that guy is, because you're a dumbass. And then he goes to the that weird back alley thing where the guy sells that they bring like stuff, and the guy buys it off them to resell it, and they bring his fucking, bedclothes and his curtains that were hanging around the bed and all this shit. And he's like, oh, that's my stuff, And then he's like, oh no, that's not my stuff. That's somebody else, because maybe he's just he's in disbelief, or he's in denial. Maybe, I don't know. But bro, it's fucking you. We all know. Everybody's like, it's you. Okay. The cool thing about some of the versions is that, like, the grave opens up and there's like fire and shit. Like, you're gonna go to hell, haha, whatever. Which that's kind of fun, I suppose. But it's always like, I think the George C. Scott and the Muppets one, he's pleading with the Ghost of Christmas Future, and he's pulling on the robe, and when he pulls the robe down and he finally gets back home, it's like he either pulls the bed curtains down or he pulls the sheet off the bed or something like that, And of course he wakes up like, oh shit, Christmas Day, and I'm alive and all this shit. So he finally figures it out. And then of course, with the kid with the turkey, the prize turkey down the lane, I'll give you a half a crown or whatever, how much money that is back then, probably a lot, like a gold crown, I guess. And he wants to have it delivered. What's going on with the light? He wants to have it delivered to, there we go, Bob Cratchit's house, anonymously. So here's the thing. Usually it's a full fucking turkey, like head to tail, like snout, fucking beak to tail kind of a thing, unplucked with the feet and everything like that. And you bring it to their house, and it's like, here, fucking cook this. And it's like, you know how long that's gonna take? You gotta fucking pluck the bird. And I'm not sure if they took out, they must have taken out the inside. That would just be weird to be like, here's a dead bird that's been sitting in my fucking shop for the last 5 days. Who wants it? What could go wrong? And then we all get worms, and then we die. But it's like, yeah, here's this fucking, at least in the Muppets movie, they bring a turkey, like, a regular, like you see in the magazines, turkey on a fucking plate. Like, here, let's have some goddamn turkey. Not like, oh, here's a chore. Here's a job to do. I thought of you, but I want you to work for this thing. Because it's fucking Scrooge. They're all like that. I just find that kind of funny. Like, here, yeah, it's like, whatever time in the morning, and it's like, oh, we don't have this by dinner time? And cooking over fucking fire back then to cook a whole turkey? Good Lord. Anyway, and he goes to Fred's house. He makes up with Fred, and he meets his wife, and they have a nice party. And he's eavesdropping on the party early. Oh, Scrooge is pretty good too. The Bill Murray one, Scrooge. He is kind of abrasive through that whole movie, though. He's just, his character. I mean, him as an actor just seems really super abrasive. Like he wasn't enjoying it. Like, I'm gonna make this movie, and it's gonna be fucking great, and people are gonna watch it 30, 40, 50 years later, but I'm not having any fun doing it. And the rant at the end is just, I'm sure it's heartfelt, but it's also just kind of like, seems kind of forced to me. Yeah, I'm not an actor. I don't know what the fuck goes on there in Hollywood. Oh boy. Anyway, where was it? Oh, turkey. Yeah. And he goes and he makes up, of course, and the very next day he's like, hey, fucking, you're not fired, and we're gonna take care of you, make you a partner, and all this kind of stuff, which is nice, and put some more coal on the fire because we're freezing our tits off, kind of a thing. I do like the idea, like, like, okay, so now you're hired, let's go out drinking afterwards, after work. It's kind of fun. I think somebody says a Christmas bowl. So like they go like to a tavern, I guess, and they have like a bowl of punch, I guess, some kind of punch. I can only imagine what that shit tasted like back then. And then somebody says a bowl of smoking bishop. which I guess is another kind of drink, an old-timey Englandy kind of drink. I'm sure it had a bunch of raisins in it or some such bullshit. And huzzah for Bob and his family. And of course, Tiny Tim, and they make a point of it, and the Muppets, who did not die, you know. And so I guess he got his leg fixed, and he's good to go. And I think Peter got a job as an apprentice with Fred's company, and so the whole family's gonna be working by the time they're 12. So yay, awesome, good for them. Anyway, we're at the 25-minute mark, and my cocktail's almost done. So we know the story, we know how it goes. But I guess the real meaning of the story is, now's the time to terrorize your boss. So go forth and terrorize your boss. Y'all see my new sweater? I wore it special. I wore it the other day too, to a party, but I think it's fun. And yeah, I got a lot of nice comments on it. I wore it to PASIC too, and I got a lot of nice comments on it. So anyway, it's fun. Yeah, happy holidays, y'all. Happy Hanukkah, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, happy, I don't know if Ramadan is happening now or whenever. Happy New Year. Okay, I'm going to say it right now. March 5th, 2026. That's the day that 8647 happens, I think. That's my money. That's my Deadpool money, okay? Little Baffy hanging out there. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this thing up and finish this and go on with my day. So I want to wish you all a happy holidays. I know we have to say Merry Christmas or else the snowflakes will lose their shit, but fuck those people. And I wish you guys nothing but the best for, every day, every second going forward. Past, present, and future. I hope things are good for everybody and as good as they can be. And remember to take care of yourself so you can take care of other people. And we'll see you in 26. Okay. Love y'all.